Hey everyone, welcome to Reddit Readout. Today we are checking out 2-sentence horror. Story 1. I once asked that stranger, is that me? Boy, I wish was wrong. Be the first to comment. Nobody's responded to this post yet. Add your thoughts and get the conversation going. Story 2. I just wish there were a few more hours in the day so I could get all of my jobs done, said Jane. Instantly the Earth's rotational speed reduced by 20% and the ensuing chaos wreaked upon the planet resulted in the death of Jane, all other living things, and, ironically, all jobs on her list before the end of the day. Story 3. I found an app that shows me one random dangerous place from around the world. It showed me a picture of my room. At this moment I realized the closet was ajar. Story 4. Your services are no longer required, said my boss as I was led outside by security. As the gates of the domed city close behind me, I laugh bitterly as I wonder how they expect me to cash the severance check. Story 5. Hey, come check out this app that supposedly predicts when you will die. Weird. Everybody I asked had the same date. It must be broken. Story 6. My friends have always said I would look good with different eyes. So I tried theirs on to prove that theory. Story 7. I always knew that I wanted to die in a blaze of glory. But no matter how long I laid on the grass to allow the sun to set me on fire, I just couldn't die as the entirety of my exposed skin melted off. Be the first to comment. Nobody's responded to this post yet. Add your thoughts and get the conversation going. Story 8. SCP-23. I have 7 friends, but my parents keep telling me they are just in my imagination. I know they live in our basement, all chained up, but my parents say I mustn't ever mention them to anyone. Story 9. I was led to believe that zombies were dumb by the movies. But after being bitten I can feel the voice of the one ordering us to act dumb till 1st of January 2024. Story 10. Yes, I want you to cut her face off, and no, the boy shouldn't suffer much. Hearing my dad's texts read aloud in court, I finally understood why he begged us not to attend. Story 11. As she sat bound and gagged in the abandoned house's closet listening to the serial killer unrolling a tarpaulin and laying out tools, she thought about what would happen if her parents told the police to trace her cell phone. The same cell phone they had confiscated as punishment for sneaking out of their house at night to go party downtown. Story 12. My wife whispered, "Someone's in the closet," she said, to the man in the bed. Story 13. It's been about 10 years since that colossal face appeared in the sky, and oddly people have started to get used to it because it just floats there doing nothing. It blinked for the first time today. Story 14. Don't worry about the bill, our hospital has a policy for people that can't pay. You see, you share a blood type with one of the paying customers upstairs, and he needs a kidney more than you do. Story 15. I gently picked and peeled at the scab until I had a piece the size of a fingernail and popped it into my mouth and chewed it. I've got another scab on my other knee if you want it, but it'll cost you, said the hobo. Story 16. I know what we're supposed to do when all the sea rushes away from the shore. But what are we supposed to do when it doesn't come back? Story 17. Jackson invited us all over for a weenie roast to help him burn some of the plants he'd pulled up during his yard renovation. 3 weeks later, with 4 of us dead and 3 of us permanently disabled, I could only wish that any of us had known what an oleander was. Story 18. Created in her memory, I decided to name my AI assistant after my late wife. I thought it would be fitting, its RAM were made from her brain after all. Story 19. I quickly pulled the knife from my wife's back as I saw my son scurry away out of the corner of my eye. He will learn how to finish what he starts before the in-laws are over for Christmas. Story 20. Voyager glitched in 2023 and started repeating an endless stream of ones and zeros. In 2034, it impossibly changed and started sending a 6. Story 21. When the last of the elders died, he was 112 years old and taking care of 10,000 kids. Nobody knew the cause of stunted puberty in the entire populace, and they never would when Ralph Boy 69 took control of the whole tribe and they slid into cannibalism. Story 22. That day as usual I felt afraid a monster was gonna come for me as I closed my eyes under the shower steam. When in reality I should have been afraid of the clogged boiling hot pipes bursting. Story 23. My friend and I swam out a little further than we meant to, but I could still see him ahead bobbing distantly in the waves. We knew it was time to leave when something brushed past both of us at the same time. Story 24. When my husband first told me our son was dead I refused to believe it. Thankfully, he chases off the man trying to pose as him for our wealth every day, which makes the grieving a little easier. Story 25. Did you grill Sarah until she told you where she got those cigarettes? Yes, but she was screaming so loud I don't even think she understood what I was asking her, my husband said as he poured some barbecue sauce into a bowl. Story 26. Peering over the edge of the cliff face at the ocean below I glanced to the left at my father who looked at me with encouragement and anticipation. The mechanical wings we built would definitely work this time, I just have to get high enough to test them properly. Story 27. The disease can't affect humans, he announces. While I leave the laboratory, only to find out he misheard what he was told. Story 28. My cat adored laser pointers. I'm not sure how, but she caught the red dot, and now she's gone. Story 29. In the office we have a special Employee of the Month board to show who did the most work. Last month we put the new guy, Larry, on it, and it took 3 severed toes, a broken wrist and 1 sliced off ear before he finally promised not to make the rest of us look bad again. Story 30. The mournful weeping of Boris' wife muffled the sound of his nails scratching the coffin. Story 31. There I saw my daughter screaming in pain as blood gushed out her head and her chest. I decided to leave her there, as I had more of the same to do. Be the first to comment. Nobody's responded to this post yet. Add your thoughts and get the conversation going. Story 32. I was just put under anesthesia for the surgery. The last thing I remember is the nurses leaving and releasing the famished hounds into the room. Story 33. It's like a spaceship, they said excitedly, climbing into the car's trunk. I guess banging on the metal walls as we ran out of oxygen only made it more realistic. Story 34. I told my wife it's weird the hospital and graveyard is so close together, to which she replied that they were probably just built close a long time ago. That didn't ease my mind as I watched members of the OR staff take food trays out to the graves. Story 35. I'd never experienced American healthcare before, so when the doctor offered me a free first treatment I accepted gratefully. After injecting me with something that made my whole body hurt, he sent me away and reminded me, the next appointments would cost dearly, and the pain wouldn't go away anytime soon. Story 36. On the TV a man's mugshot appeared for murder. A friend runs in to turn off the TV a second later. Story 37. My mom is an influential doctor with her own practice and she taught me everything I knew before entering medical school. My medical school let me go early after issuing the statement that I was a danger to the health industry. Story 38. I'm being violated daily by the hospital janitor while I'm in a coma, but I still feel sorry for him. I wish he looked at my doctor's note first and read about the rabies. Story 39. I'll have a Moscow mule, I said to my friend as I got to the party. 6 wild hours later, I noticed my untouched and forgotten copper cup still on the table, so I downed it on my way out. Story 40. I sat across the room watching my young son playing house with the neighbor's kid. When he suddenly pretended to hit her on the head and drag her out of the house, filling me with remorse knowing what came next due to my own incompetence at being aware of my surroundings. Story 41. My diabetic girlfriend was lying unconscious on the floor with her blood sugar alarm flashing G hypoglycemia. I pulled out her insulin pen and emptied the pen into her leg to wake her up. Story 42. There's a monster in my closet. It makes me call him Dad. Story 43. They say dreams are windows into other universes. But if that's the case, then why have people stopped dreaming? Story 44. On the days when the pain was at its worst, my mother would hold me while I wailed. She would coo in my ear, "I know you want to go to the hospital, but we just can't have the family legacy suffer by having people associate our name with a newly discovered disease, darling. Be the first to comment." Nobody's responded to this post yet. Add your thoughts and get the conversation going. Story 45. All the houses look too clean, like they're taken right out of a sketchbook. I swear I see someone peeking from the curtains every time when I look at either one of the houses. Story 46. I'm pushing her on the swing in the abandoned park and she's pleading with me again to let her mother know where she is. I know someday that I'll have to, but if I were to tell her mother where that awful man buried her body, I would lose the only friend I have left in this world. Story 47. Echoes from another me. As I listened to the voicemail, my own voice whispered back, begging me to not go home tonight. When I looked up, I saw myself staring back from the other side of the street, slowly shaking its head. Be the first to comment. Nobody's responded to this post yet. Add your thoughts and get the conversation going. Story 48. Patient number 3. The patient frantically pushed her stroller through the crowd in the emergency department, crying and screaming that her newborn was possessed and trying to kill her. I felt my throat tighten as I peered at the mangled body buckled in and wondered how nature could do this to a family. Story 49. I was freezing cold, so hopped in the shower and cranked up the temperature. As I turned it hotter and hotter, the water only got colder, turning my skin red. Story 50. Dealing with my best friend's brutal murder was easier than I thought it would be. I'll wait a few weeks before I deal with the next backstabber on my list. Story 51. My wife insists we keep giving money to these quacks who pretend they can converse with our deceased daughter. I know they're scoundrels because all they hear from kiddo is that she is happy in a better place, not one mention of her drowning not being an accident. Story 52. When I arrived home early, I found a new car in my driveway and I stood at the front of my house in anticipation for my wife and her lover to leave. It was only when I heard the screams for help coming from inside the house that everything started to click. That's all for today. Please don't forget to like and subscribe.